Good afternoon, I'm Miles Moore with Holly Springs Fire Department. Today we're going to be talking about PPE, otherwise known as your personal protective equipment. I've been with the Holly Springs Fire Department for about 4.5 years. I'm excited to just do a summary of the components of your gear today. If you need a restroom or anything, if you go out the door to my left, it'll be to your immediate right. Emergency exits at the front and back of the building. If you got a call or anything like that, just step out quietly, try not to be a distraction. All right, back to PPE. First of all, I'll show you everything on the table here, and then we're just going to talk about it, and then we'll have some skills after class and some things that we'll go over. We'll get into more detail and such. So you have your Nomex hood here. That's going to go over your head, around your face piece to protect your neck from heat. Your pants, turnout pants, boots, gloves, helmet, turnout coat, face piece, and your SCBA 4500 PSI, which hooks into your face piece. All right, so our knowledge objectives today, I'm gonna read those word for word. That's our goals that we wanna accomplish for the class. Describe your components of PPE, state role of PPE, identify limitations of PPE, describe procedure of donning and doffing PPE, inspect and maintain your PPE, the respiratory hazards of smoke and fire, the importance of your self-contained breathing apparatus, or otherwise known as your SCBA, the limitations of the SCBA, the major components of SCBA, and the breathing techniques to conserve air using SCBA. Our skill objectives for after the presentation: don and doff your PPE, don and doff your SCBA and face piece, perform inspection of SCBA, replace SCBA air cylinder, and the two safety components used by firefighters. Those are going to be your PPE and your SCBA. The PPE is going to be a limited amount of heat that you're protected up until, and the SCBA is a limited amount of air that you have. So like the 4500 PSI, max potential, somebody that's really in shape, you know, around that 45-minute mark, but realistically, it's going to be about half of that, because you're in there working, you're lifting heavy things, moving stuff around, and you know, it's a very taxing thing on your body. NFPA 1971 outlines the criteria for the PPE. Inside of your coat, pants, anything like that, it'll have the NFPA 1971 label. You got 10 years from the manufacture date. After that, it's time to get rid of it, get a new set. So we're going to discuss the structural firefighting gear. It must cover every inch of your body to be effective. They're all designed to overlap one another, and we'll talk more about that outside. There's an integrated pass system in the SCBA. If you're a down firefighter not moving for too long, you can activate it yourself, call a Mayday, they'll be able to hear that alarm. It must be cleaned and maintained over time to prevent carcinogens. The pants and the coat are made up of 3 components. It's got the protective outer shell, the moisture barrier to protect from liquids and vapors, and the thermal barrier to protect from heat. Your helmet is going to protect from falling debris, face shield protect the eyes. You got the hood, the gloves, boots, which prevent punctures, scrapes, crushing injuries, etc. To summarize our firefighting ensemble, you got your helmet and face shield, your hood, turnout coat, bunker pants, gloves, and boots. What are the limitations of the PPE? It's going to require extra energy and strength. You got to train in that gear, get used to it, to account for that extra weight, extra 75-ish pounds on you. It's going to limit your mobility, sensory ability. You got to wear it a lot to get used to it, and it'll just feel like part of you eventually. Donning and doffing your PPE, that's just going to be putting it on, taking it off essentially. Ideally, don it outside the apparatus. Must be done in a precise manner because you got people's lives on the line, so you want to do it effectively. To doff your PPE, you simply reverse the procedure of putting on the PPE. After doffing, it needs to be cleaned and stored in an appropriate area. Don't want to put it in direct sunlight, keep it in your car, at the house, anything like that. So when you inspect and maintain the PPE, you want to check that ideally every shift, because if you got any holes, cuts, anything like that, it needs to be reported to the supervisor. If it can't be fixed, get a new set. The personal alert safety system, which I talked about briefly, integrated into our SCBA, is the PASS system. That is an electronic device. If you're motionless, you can activate it, and If you have to call Mayday or anything like that, once again, then somebody will come find you and they'll be able to hear that. So what is the SCBA protecting? That's your respiratory protection. The National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, otherwise known as NIOSH, sets requirements for the SCBA. Also, you can find details on NFPA 1500, 1404, 1981. You want to be proficient with your SCBA, so when the time comes to use it, you'll be confident using it. When you first start out, feels lunky, feels weird, a lot of components, but you'll eventually get used to it if you use it enough. IDLH, that's going to be immediately dangerous to life and health. When you're in a burning building, that's the IDLH. What are your products of combustion? That's your particles, your vapors, and your gases. Gases will include carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, and phosgene. You don't want that stuff in your lungs. The ambient air is 21% oxygen. When you get below that 17% mark, it's very dangerous. When you're in the fire, it's got so many other gases, so many other things taking up the air, it takes out the oxygen. And this is oxygen deficiency. Other oxygen deficient areas that we might use a SCBA, confined space, or a hazmat scene. More deaths are caused by the smoke inhalation, so you must wear the SCBA at all points of the fire. Your limitations of the SCBA. You only have as much air as in the cylinder right here. When you hear that low air alarm, it's time to come out. Always know where your exits are. The realistic life, like I stated earlier, the SCBA is about 50% because of the working and taxing your body. Extra weight, the face piece can limit your mobility, your visibility, because it can get fogged up. And once again, with everything, training, practicing, condition is key. The major components of the SCBA, it's going to be your harness, your air cylinder, RICUAC, that stands for Rapid Intervention Crew Universal Air Connection, regulator, and your face piece. Breathing techniques using the SCBA, you can do your skip breathing. That's going to be 2 short breaths with a long exhale. Riley, aka humming technique, you can slowly inhale and exhale while humming. And then your controlled breathing, in the nose, out the mouth. That's what our coach used to teach us, running track, cross country, works for firefighting too. To summarize this lesson, and I'll read this word for word about our goals here today. PPE is essential for firefighters. Structural firefighting, PPE allows firefighters to work in heated and toxic environments. PPE consists of bunker coat, pants, helmet, protective hood, boots, SCBA, pass system, and there's additional equipment. Structural PPE has several limitations, such as weight, overheating, mobility, etc. Firefighters should be able to quickly don their PPE, check the condition of the PPE on a regular basis, clean as needed. Respiratory hazards associated with fires include smoke, smoke particles, smoke vapors, toxic gases, oxygen deficiency, increased temperatures. Open circuit breathing apparatus is primarily used for structural firefighting. Limited amount of air in cylinder, but you can get more out of your bottle with training, breathing techniques, and physical conditioning. SCBA consists of 4 main parts: the harness, air cylinder assembly, regulator assembly, facepiece assembly. SCBA should be checked regularly. That's all I got for right now. We'll go outside, do some skills, but before we do that, does anybody have any questions about anything? All right, if everybody's good, we're gonna go outside and work with our gear. Thank you.